Time for tea. One after water, tea is the most widely consumed beverage in the world and, by the time you have read this passage, hundreds of thousands of cups of tea will have been drunk globally. But how many of us ever stop to consider the origins of tea or the reasons for its continuing popularity down through the ages? 2. There is plenty of evidence to show that tea was popular thousands of years ago in China because it was drunk for its medicinal properties. There were many myths surrounding the origins of tea and, as these myths spread, the popularity of tea increased. For example, one influential myth concerns Emperor Shennong, taking a sip from a bowl of boiling water into which some leaves from a nearby bush had been blown. He was pleasantly surprised by its flavor. This delicious drink began to be drunk as a stimulant because of its restorative powers. There's no better pick-me-up than a good cup of tea. Use of tea for this purpose was supported by another myth about a prince who developed the habit of chewing leaves from the tea shrub in order to keep himself awake for prayer. Tea drinking spread when tea leaves were formed into the shape of bricks because they were easy to trade and transport. They were even used as a form of currency instead of metal coins. A book entitled The Tea Classic, written by scholar Lu Yu, was the single greatest influence in developing the popularity of tea in China. The Tea Classic is fascinating to read, describing the weather conditions in which tea should be picked and even the best water to be used to make the drink. 3. By the 6th century, tea had spread to Japan, where at first it was the drink of the aristocracy, before becoming widely accessible to ordinary people when production grew. Tea in Japan took on religious significance with the tea ceremony, in which the making of tea expresses the quest for greatness in the smallest details of life. Thus, the link in Japan between tea and religious observance increased the importance and popularity of tea. Through time, tea drinking extended to other Asian countries, for example Vietnam, Korea, and Taiwan. For it was not until the 17th century that tea reached the West, when Dutch traders imported it from China. In addition, British merchants had been exporting goods to the East, but their ships returned empty. Thus began a vigorous campaign in Britain to popularize tea among the ordinary people there to develop it as a profitable return cargo. In order to evade taxes, it was frequently smuggled into Britain. Smuggled tea was cheaper than its legitimately imported equivalent, and its popularity increased. 5. There are many reasons for the continuing popularity of tea. The ability of tea plants to replenish their leaves every week during the growing season means that there is always plenty available, which helps keep down the cost to the consumer. In addition, tea is highly receptive to absorbing the aromas of other plants. This may cause problems with transportation and storage, with the true flavor of the tea being adversely affected by other goods, but the advantage of the ability of tea leaves to absorb other aromas allows for an almost endless range of scented and flavored teas, such as vanilla and caramel. Moreover, the development of mixing different types of tea, called blending, makes it possible to obtain better tasting tea at lower prices. Then came the invention of tea bags, which led to the quick cuppa. Although connoisseurs of tea complain that tea bags contain merely the waste products of high-quality tea, and that their small size does not allow the leaves to diffuse properly, it cannot be denied that tea bags have made tea accessible and cheap. 6. As well as being a stimulant because of its caffeine content, a cup of tea is considered by millions to be wonderfully relaxing. Perhaps the best explanation of this paradox is that the very act of making tea has a soothing effect on us. Modern medical studies support the claim that tea has a beneficial effect on health, reducing our chances of heart disease, and providing immunity against certain intestinal disorders. Furthermore, because it contains fluoride, tea even prevents dental decay. Such scientific data was beyond the knowledge of Emperor Shennong, but it seems that he was right to have been impressed by what he stumbled upon all those centuries ago.